Most High. All praise to the Most High. Let's see how we're sounding tonight. It seems like StreamYard might be acting. Okay. Seems like StreamYard might be acting fine. Okay. Here we go. So we're on all platforms. We're on all platforms. In fact, we're not on this platform yet. Okay, here we go. All right. Now we are on all platforms, streaming all around. We're going to be talking about the importance of 70 AD dealing with eschatology, the study of end times. Now, y'all know, as full preterists, and a lot of people do not like full preterists from the Hebrew Israelite community as well as the Christian community. We're not liked by all walks in this so-called faith. And the reason is because we stand on exactly what the Bible states, which is when all biblical prophecies was going to be fulfilled. And that counter rattled cages because people have a tendency not to like when all biblical prophecies were fulfilled because they were not fulfilled how it was imagined by the people who came later. So, what I plan on doing tonight is going to the ancient world perspective. I'm going to be using first, second, third century documents. Okay? Not 21st century, our time period, the 19th century, the 17th century. I'm not going to be using the Johnny come latelys, the Johnny come laters. I'm going to be using the ancient world. And with the ancient world, how they viewed prophecies, how they viewed the end of that prophetic world and the new world to come, which is the world we live in. And people are looking around talking about this can't be the prophesied world. This can't be it. I didn't heard many biblical followers make this statement. If this is the world that Jesus was talking about, or if this is the kingdom, I don't want it. It's a fake kingdom. It's false. It's below then. I done heard them say all of this madness. So tonight we're gonna go through documentation left over by the ancient world on what the fulfillment of all things was going to accomplish and what they was hoping for leading up to 70 AD. Shalom, brother Wisdom. I see you in here. Shalom, sister Blossom. You want to say anything, Wisdom, before I start, my brother? I definitely appreciate that, my brother. And if whoever come in, share the room and etc. This is not going to be something that's going to tickle your ear because a lot of people like their ear tickled, and this is not what that is. So let me get ready to share my screen. First thing first, when dealing with the Bible, I want to make something clear. Let me see if I can find it. Dealing with our brother Paul real fast. This is what Paul stated. It's in Second Corinthians. I thought it was around 3. Might be 2.
Hey, wisdom, where is that at when Paul went into? Oh, there it's 12. I got it. 2 Corinthians 12. Now, I want to give us the background. This is what you got to understand when you're reading the Bible, because a lot of people lose this understanding off top. Listen to how Paul describes himself. Listen to how Paul laid this out. Second, and y'all don't just listen to me. Get your Bible out, get your Google out, whatever, and follow along. Just don't listen to me. It works better that way. So we're in 2 Corinthians 12 and 1. Listen to what Paul says. He says, I'm reading from the KJV right now. It is not expedient for me, doubtless, to glory. I will come to visions and revelations of the Lord. I knew a man in Christ above 14 years ago, whether in body, I cannot tell, or whether out of the body, I cannot tell. God knoweth. Such an one caught up to the third heaven. And I knew such a man, whether in the body or out of the body, I cannot tell. God knoweth. Okay, so what Paul stated, he's actually talking about himself, how he was caught up into the third heaven. Notice Paul did not give an explanation of what the third heaven was. Why wouldn't Paul not give an explanation of what the third heaven was? He's writing people whom already knew what the third heaven was. Okay? He's not explaining none of this stuff. They only explained that what needs to be understood. So he's living in a time period in the world where the people knew what the third heaven was. And he's talking about how he was caught up into paradise, which we know is the Garden of Eden, and he heard unspeakable words which is not lawful for a man to utter. Notice he's just writing this to give an explanation of what he went through. So, in other words, we're talking about a time period where people are said to have visited heaven and heard things from the heavenly realm and brought it to earth. This is the type of mindset that we're dealing with when we're talking about the Bible. The Bible is based off of things such as people who can meditate and go into a different realm. See, today we call it vibration. Oh, you raise your frequency. You raise your vibration. Then you can see all these spiritual things and etc. Some people call it sort of new ages today, but this was normal for the gurus of the ancient world. Once you go to other cultures, you got your Buddhists and all these people who did the same things with the meditation, and they got enlightenment, and they was able to see these other uh, deities not from this world. Abraham was able to see angels not from this world. It You got Mary, Joseph, Zechariah. You got Elijah. You got all these people who was able to see all of these unworldly things. So we're talking about the Bible is in a time period where spirituality was at its height. Today, spirituality really is not at its height, it's at its low. So today, many people are concentrating on earthly things. Back in the days, they was concentrating more on heavenly things. So you got to think about, okay, if they're concentrating more on heavenly things back then, what direction is the Bible really trying to head mankind? Because not everybody was thinking about heavenly things, but the gurus, the teachers, the ones who's actually speaking to the masses, they are on their heavenly state. Now, I want to make two more statements, and then I'm finna get ready to start. I want you guys to actually think about this. Think about Moses and think about the Messiah. They both fasted. If you believe what the Bible states, they both fasted 40 days and 40 nights. No food, no drink. Okay. So imagine the state your body will be in after going over a month not eating and drinking. Imagine some people get real woozy when they don't eat for like a couple of or 8 hours. Some people get like they're drunk if they don't get enough sleep or enough rest. So imagine the mind state. Imagine how the body functions after not eating or drinking for 40 days. Or some people was doing the 7-day fast. Imagine how close your body will be to the spirit realm because they're pretty much on the brink of death. You're pretty much on the brink of death if you can survive not eating 40 days and 40 nights. So now your body is more tuned in to the spiritual world because, as my brother Demetrius has stated, you're almost over there. You're almost there. So that has to be understood. That has to be understood. Okay. So now we're talking about spiritual things. We're finna break down how the ancient world viewed eschatology, the end days, what you call judgment day, the end times, because today judgment day is viewed as a nuclear missile is going to come in, destroy somebody, and the Lord is going to pick people up and take them to a new location. Then he's going to not only destroy that one location that the missile came, he's going to destroy all the world, and he's going to create a new world, and he's going to put all the good people that he lifted up off of the planet, he's going to place them back onto this new world, and they're going to live happily ever after. That makes a great movie, great sci-fi movie. I mean, you can get a lot of money if you could get the special effects for that. But that's not what the ancient world was talking about. That's not what they believed. When they said arrows, they meant arrows. They didn't mean all of a sudden now it's missiles. When they said horses, they meant horses. They're not talking about some type of car. All right, so now we're going to go through Daniel 70 weeks. I'm going to show you with the ancient world. We're going to go through plenty ancient scripture to show you how they viewed these things. So we're going to start off Daniel chapter 9. Everybody open up your Bible to Daniel chapter 9. If you want to know anything about the final judgment that was going to come, with you guys surname Judgment Day, the great white throne judgment, when all biblical prophecies would be fulfilled, when the old world would be destroyed and the new world come into play. Let's show you what, not you, not me, but with the ancient world, how they exegeted this, what they thought it meant. Okay, so now, Daniel 9:24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city. Okay, so first thing first, this is the angel talking to Daniel. Okay, the angel talking to Daniel. When he said thy people, he's talking about Daniel's people, the Israelites. And when he say thy city, he's talking about the city that Daniel was in or was coming from, which is Jerusalem. Okay, he's not talking about America, none of that stuff. Okay, so 70 weeks, that's the time period. 77s are determined upon thy people and thy holy city to do a couple of things that people overlook when they read this passage. Now, listen to all of the things that you guys say is going to happen at Judgment Day. And after Judgment Day comes, that perfect world that you thought that you have envisioned, Watch what Daniel. Watch what the angel tells Daniel. It says at the 70 weeks are going to finish the transgression. No more transgressing against God. This is going against Daniel's 70 weeks prophecy. Has nothing to do with me and you. Okay? 70 weeks to finish transgression. It says to make an end of sins. Now, don't people tell you that we're going to come eventually into a world, and in our world, there's going to be no more death, sorrow, no more violence, there's going to be no more sin? Well, that was told to Daniel dealing with his people with the 70 weeks. So it says 70 weeks are determined to finish the transgression, make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity. That's atonement. No more atonement is needed after this. To bring in everlasting righteousness. Ain't that what they tell y'all that we're going to have in this new quote unquote world that the Lord is going to create? It's going to be a world with everlasting righteousness. Well, according to the angel who came to speak to Daniel, that was prophesied to happen dealing with the prophecy that Daniel received. Oh, and this is going to be the heavy one right here that a lot of people ain't gonna like, even into today's congregation. It says to seal up the vision and prophecy. That means Daniel's vision and any other vision was dealing with what the Lord has for his people was going to be complete. It was going to be sealed up. No more. To seal up vision, not only vision, but prophecy. And I know there's a lot of quote unquote prophets today. It ain't what the Bible was talking about. Yeah, you can have your prophets today. I just want you to understand it's not what the Bible was talking about. It isn't biblical. It's something that you guys made up, kind of. And I'm not talking about you in general, but I'm talking about the people who comes through who call themselves prophets. And to anoint the most holy, which is the holy place, to put an anointing of the holy place where it was going to never be unanointed again. So Daniel 9:24 is all about the end of the old and the beginning of the new. Okay, that's Daniel 9:24. People are not going to like it because Daniel 9:24 gives the time frame. And everybody today who says we are still waiting on this stuff to happen is outside of the time frame that Daniel gave. Daniel only gave 77s. And once you start doing your calculations and your sabbatical years and etc., it doesn't go past 490 years. So once you get to year 1800, 1900, 2000, you are way out of the timeline that the prophecy was about. So now, to make it even more clear, Daniel gives the generation this is going to happen. Let me say it again. Let me say it again, just in case people, you didn't listen to me. Open up your Bible. Daniel, not only does he give the time frame, not only did Daniel say every vision, prophecy, sin, transgression was going to be done away with and new everlasting righteousness was going to come in. Not only does Daniel tell you after this, you need to quit trying to prophesy about the end because this is when the end is going to come. He actually gives the generation. Let me show you Daniel given the generation. This is Daniel 9:25. Know therefore and understand. So he's telling Daniel to understand this. From the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince. Now we all know that's the Messiah, whom they called Jesus Christ in the first century. People can come thousands of years later, and these converts can come thousands of years later and try to remix it. But we literally have the ancient world from the Dead Sea Scroll, who was before there was a Christianity. The Dead Sea Scroll explained that this was the Messiah in their future. For the people who try to make this be Cyrus. So, and we got the church fathers, first, second, third century, telling us this is about Jesus. So we have, now listen to what it says, because there are two messiahs here, but the final messiah is what I'm talking about. And I'm going to show you the two messiahs right now. It says, therefore, the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince, 7 weeks. So that's one Messiah. That's the one that they put Cyrus under the true rabbis. Now, these other Johnny come later rabbis try to make this somehow both be Cyrus and somebody else, but outside or some type of priest from the Grecians. It don't make sense. But 7 weeks, that's one Messiah. And that means an addition. 62 weeks. So as the Lord called Cyrus his anointed, which means his Messiah, there was another Messianic, another Messiah that was going to come and do these things. So we're talking about the final Messiah, not the Messiah, not Cyrus, who came and freed them from the Babylonian captivity. We're talking about the Messiah who came and freed them from sin captivity. But anyway, 62 weeks. So you got 7 weeks, 62 weeks, which is 62. If you put 62 plus 7, that's 69. Now, let's keep reading. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. Verse 26. So this is verse 26. Listen to verse 26 carefully, because it's fin to explain what verse 24 and verse 25 is about. See, for some reason, they think that Daniel just jumped subjects or something. No. 24, 25 is fin to be explained how it is going to be accomplished in verse 26. This is what 26 says. And after 62 weeks, so we have 7 plus 62 is 69. We had week 69. It was only 70 weeks. It's only 70 weeks. Okay? So after 62 weeks, which is week 69, shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. So we have the Messiah being on the scene of all these accomplishments. The Messiah is on the scene, only leaving 1 week. The Messiah is on the scene, only leaving 1 week. Now listen to how how the verse continues to explain what's finna happen. It says, after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. So as Daniel was able to be in that captivity when their city and sanctuary was going to be destroyed, this is a future prophecy where the city and the sanctuary was going to be destroyed. And it says, in the end thereof shall be with a flood, and until the end of the war, desolations are determined. So during the generation of the Messiah, the city and the sanctuary was going to be destroyed with a flood. And woe and behold, and I'm coming right back to Daniel 9. We're going to look at what the words of what the Messiah stated about this end time from his mouth, and watch how people shuffle. Watch how they start tap dancing and try to make it be something else. Once you go to Matthew 24, look at verse number, let me see here, 36 through 30, no, 38 through 39. I'm starting at 37. But as the days of Noah, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man. So he's giving you something to look at. The days of Noah is going to be just like the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, and for some reason people overlooked the they. Who was the they that was eating and drinking in the days of Noah? The sons of God and the daughters of men. So you have to have some sons of God, who was Israel, and daughters of men, who were the Gentiles, working together, just like in the days of Noah, the sons of man, and the sons of God and the daughters of men were together. Okay, so but let's keep going on. They were marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Just like the flood that came and took them away, that's when the Son of Man was supposed to come with his judgment. You go back to Daniel 9, you find out what happened in Daniel 9. The city and the sanctuary is going to be destroyed with a flood. And now, for some reason, the flood now is a different flood. Now they don't want this flood to be the flood that came with a war. They don't want this flood to be an allegory for the war that's coming upon Jerusalem. Now they want this flood to be something else. Meanwhile, Christ connected the flood with his coming. And Daniel 9 is connecting the flood with the Messiah's judgment. And I can show you that. Let me read it from the Septuagint, one of the or the Greek version that's translated into English. It gives a little bit better translation. Listen to what it says. And after 62 weeks, the anointed one shall be destroyed. That's the Messiah. And there is no judgment in him. And he, that's the Messiah, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary with the prince that is coming. So the Messiah is destroying the city and the sanctuary using the prince that's coming. That's how the Lord does his judgments. He always uses other nations to come in to do his bidding. So the Messiah's coming was when Jerusalem was going to be destroyed. And I know people know he's going to come today. It's going to be the 21st century. But according to Daniel 9:26, Daniel 9:24, you only got 70 weeks. And this is happening on week 70. The Messiah is being destroyed. So we got a destruction of the city and the sanctuary. What's supposed to happen? Transgressions are supposed to end. Sins are supposed to end. An atonement is going to happen. Everlasting righteousness is supposed to come in. Vision and prophecy is supposed to stop. The most holy is supposed to be anointed. Daniel put this around the destruction of Jerusalem. Now, a lot of people don't understand why. Why would all of this stuff end with the destruction of Jerusalem. And we're going to get into it a little bit later on because I'm trying to show you what the ancient world, how they viewed this time period and what was supposed to go on. But the point right now, this is the generation of the Messiah right here. And what people do, this is how futurists do it. They try to insert a gap. This is the gap theory. Oh, yeah. It happened 69, those 69 sevens. Oh, yeah, that happened one after. That was chronological. That happened one after the other. But in the 70th week, that's going to be 2,000 years in the future. Yeah, the 69 sevens, they happened one after each other progressively. Yeah. Of ones, it was 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 2,000 years gap, 70. The scripture don't say that. You're making that up to fit your futuristic paradigm that says Christ has to come in our time period. The Bible's talking about our time period. So you have to insert a 2,000-year gap in order for your doctrine to fit. And the Bible don't tell you to do that at all. It don't. Did not one prophet say, hey, Daniel said insert a gap. Did not one prophet say insert a gap between 69 and 70? Not one person ever said that to do that in the Bible. In fact, when Christ came on the scene, he was making it be known that his generation is going to be the generation that see all of these things. Just like Daniel said, Christ's generation is going to be the generation that sees all those things. But now, if you don't like, because remember, I stated after, oh yeah, okay, let me see if I can, let me read the next one. Let me read the next one so we can find out this last week. It says, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. Consummation right there means destruction, even until the destruction, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So, according to verse 27, the sacrifice is going to have to be taken away. The oblation is going to have to be taken away. The overspreading of abominations is going to cause something to stop. And then something is going to be destroyed, and that's going to be the end. Now, here's the question. How can you have sacrifice and offerings without a city and sanctuary? Think about it. So, the sacrifice and offering cannot be taken away after the city and sanctuary is destroyed. So, verse 27 is happening in the midst of verse 26. So, we got the people coming in to destroy the city and the sanctuary. That's in during the same generation that the sacrifice and offering is being taken away. And the city and the sanctuary being desolate by the war, it's the same time that the consummation is occurring and being poured upon the desolate. So it's all in the same generation. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go to the first/second century document called Second Esdras. We're going to go to Second Esdras, and you don't got to believe me. You don't got to believe me. It's documented for thousands of years. So you got all these people who come in and exegete the scriptures and tell you what it meant to them and how this is this and that is that, and you guys are wrong, full preterism is wrong, and it's going to be in our future. Let's look at how the ancient world viewed these same scriptures, these same texts. Okay? So now, understand, there's a judgment upon Jerusalem in Daniel 9 and 26. Let me say it again. There's a judgment upon God's people, his old covenant people, in Daniel 9:26. Okay? So this is second Ezra 7. Let me get this second Ezra 7 out. It's not available right there. Y'all give me 1 second because I want to show it up on the screen. All right, let me see here. Present share screen. Hold on. And if you guys want, oh no, let me refresh that. Everyone can go to Second Ezra chapter 7. Second Ezra chapter 7. And we're going to start at verse number 30. And we're going to read through, Second Ezra 7, 28 through 29. Second Ezra 7, 28 through 29. Now let me get this up on my screen. Now, this is how the authors, once again, first, second century authors, exegeted Daniel's 9, 20, around verse 26. Listen to how they stated. It says, and whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evils shall see my wonders. All right, so now, here go verse 28. For my son Jesus shall be revealed with those that be with him, and they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years. So this is supposedly Ezra writing this, and we know this happened a little bit after 400 years. But I want to show you how they exegeted this so you can understand what they were looking for. Not what you're looking for, but what they were looking for. All right, so here we go right here. Look at verse number 29. After these years shall my son Christ die, and all men that have life. Okay? So, this is the same time period that Daniel 9 is speaking on. Daniel 9, verse number 26. After 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off. All right? This is the time period which Christ died. And it not only do Christ, it says all men that have life. So this is dealing with that tribulation time period. But anyway, so in order for Christ to die, it has to be Christ's generation. So now, let's keep reading verses 30 through 35. It says, and the world shall be turned into the old silence 7 days. Quick question. How long is 7 days? 1 week. Okay. So they got the Messiah being cut off, 69th week, leaving 1 week, which is the 70th week. Here we got Messiah being cut off, leaving 1 week. Now, let's find out what happens at the end of that week. It says, and the world shall turn into the old silent 7 days, like as in the former judgments, so that no man shall remain. And after 7 days, the world that yet awaketh not shall be raised up, and that shall die that is corrupt. I'm going to keep reading now. And the earth shall restore those that are asleep in her. This is the resurrection, folks. And so shall the dust, those that dwell in silence and the secret places shall deliver those souls that were committed unto them. And the Most High shall appear upon the seat of judgment. This is your great white throne judgment. And misery shall pass away, and the long suffering shall have an end. But judgment only shall remain. Truth shall stand, and faith shall wax strong. Why didn't talk about a new earth? Why didn't talk about the Lord destroying this earth, picking people up, putting them to the side, building another earth, then bringing people back here, or back on the new earth? See, in the ancient world, they did not believe that. Ah, yeah, I see people dropping off now. Y'all see where we at? Now people dropping off. Oh, yeah. Get a little shaky in that doctrine, don't it? That doctrine get a little shaky when we start using the ancient world to understand how the Bible works instead of using modern people. Oh, yeah, it's time to drop off now. Dropping like flies. So, according to the author of Second Esdras, they was looking for, after the resurrection occurred, it was going to be only judgment, truth, and faith that remained. What are we supposed to have today? Righteous judgment. We're supposed to stand on truth and have faith. Wow. Let's go to verse 35. And the work shall follow, and the reward shall be showed, and the good deeds shall be of force, and the wicked deeds shall bear no rule. Hold on now. So, according to the author of Second Esdras, that final week after the Messiah dies, that's when the resurrection is supposed to occur. So you have the Messiah living in the generation of the first century. And after the week that he dies, the generation of the first century, the resurrection is supposed to occur, and the final judgment. Oh, if you go back to Daniel, Daniel actually tells us what's happening the final week. Oh, this is for my people who say, you guys keep talking about 70 AD. You guys keep talking about 70 AD. Look at what Daniel says occurs during that final week. He shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. That's that final week, guys. And in the middle of the week, the middle of that final week, the sacrifice and oblation shall cease. So there was a temple. We ain't got no temple today. Guys, there is no temple today. And the Lord ain't finna build no third temple just so he can get people together so he can destroy it. No, ma'am, no, sir. That's ridiculous. This is talking about a time period when the temple existed. Woe and behold, the temple existed first century. This is a time period when the temple existed. It said he's going to cause the sacrifice and offering to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate. How did he make it desolate? He destroyed the city and the sanctuary. The sacrifice and oblation stopped. It was um it was substituted by the abominations of desolations. The Lord don't want those type of sacrifices, not from no abomination of desolations. So the Lord took the temple and the city away. Now, if you put them together, this is what's happening. The author of Second Ezra understands that when Jerusalem is being judged as a people, there's something happening spiritually. Let me say it again. You got a visible world, you got an invisible world. You got people who had high consciousness, you had people that had low consciousness. You had people who understood. Hold on, I just got something. Hold on right here. Okay. You got people who understood prophecy. You got people who did not understand prophecy. I'm talking about in the ancient world. You got people who was given passed down traditions. You got people who was not given passed down traditions. Okay. So in the visible world, in the world that people could see, God's covenantal people are being judged for their disobedience. But there's something that's occurring in the invisible world. According to the author or authors of Second Ezra, that judgment that most people are waiting on today, the great white throne judgment, that was occurring during the time period that Jerusalem was being destroyed first century. Let me say it again. See, this is when the people that dropped off like flies, they should have stayed in and listened to all of it, because you're going to be lost on what the Bible is trying to teach. Once again, and this ain't the only document. I'm going to bring more documents, more upon more upon more documents left by the earlier people around the destruction of Jerusalem, what they considered was happening in the spiritual world when something was happening in the carnal world. Okay, so now you have Jerusalem covenantal people being judged, and you got the spirits in the other world being judged at the same time. One judgment of heaven and earth and beneath the earth together at one time, at one event. This is why Daniel is telling people, or the angel is telling Daniel, after this judgment, after Jerusalem is destroyed, there's no more prophecy. There's no more vision. There's no more sin, because sin was a transgression of the law. This is old covenant stuff. There's no more any of these things. Now, if you sin, it's based off of your faith in what you do toward others. But before, it was based off of everything that's dealing with the law. Those under the law, judged by the law. Those that's not under the law is not judged by the law. They're judged like accordingly from their actions morally. But anyway, so let's go to Daniel 12 now. Even Daniel 12, did y'all know that Daniel 12 actually teaches the same thing? Let me say it again. Did y'all not know that Daniel 12, because y'all know when people talk about the resurrection, what passage do they usually go to the most? Or what chapter? Daniel 12. Daniel 12 clearly tells us about a resurrection. But did you not know that Daniel 12 teaches the same thing? That the resurrection was going to happen around the time that Jerusalem was going to be destroyed? Hold on, what? Daniel 12 teaches that? Once you go to Daniel 12, let's go there. Daniel 12 and 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. This is the 70th week of Daniel. This is not Daniel week 1 through 69. No. This is the 70th week of Daniel. Okay? At that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. Hold on. A time of trouble for the children of Israel? Would not the time of trouble for the children of Israel be when the prince is coming in to destroy the city and the sanctuary? Would not a time of trouble be for Israel when the sacrifice and drink offering is taken away? They could no longer do what was required under the old covenant. Would that not be a time of trouble? And look at what Daniel said. At that time, thy people shall be delivered, every one that's found written in the book. Hold on. At that time of trouble, there's going to be some salvation. And look what it says right here. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. That's resurrection. Some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. So Daniel put the resurrection around the time of trouble. Let me say that again. Daniel, not me, not you, not your pastor, not your elder, or whomever or not no church fathers or anybody else, not any rabbis. Daniel, he put the resurrection around the time of trouble. So if what I'm saying is correct, and this was supposed to occur first century in the generation of Christ, I should be able to go to the text left in the generation of Christ saying the resurrection was going to happen around the time of tribulation. Is that not fair? Is that not fair? Is it not fair to say if what I'm proclaiming is that these things are happening in Christ's generation, just like Daniel stated? And to show that I'm not misrepresenting or misunderstanding the information, if I can find exactly what I'm saying in the first century documentation, what we call the New Testament, then obviously it's correct. You go to Matthew 24. Matthew 24, verse number 15. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, well, that's coming definitely from Daniel. That's definitely Daniel 9, Daniel 11, Daniel 12. Spoken of by Daniel the prophet. But he told the disciples when they see it. When we try to take it from the actual audience and try to make it be us. When Daniel, Andrew, who was it, Peter, Andrew, John, you go to Mark, Mark 13, it tells you exactly who was on there. When you see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whosoever readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Okay, so they got an abomination of desolation. Why they got to flee? Why is someone prof, of profaning God's temple? Why does that cause for someone to flee? Well, we read in Daniel when this abomination of desolation, or the abomination that causes desolation, is set up. Jerusalem and the city, sorry, Jerusalem and the temple will be destroyed. So now let's keep reading. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. Verse 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. We just read that in Daniel 12:1. The time of trouble, since there was never going to be another time like that. Christ 21, Matthew 24:21, dealing when they see the abomination of desolation, there's going to be a time of tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to that time, nor shall ever will be. But hold on. Verse number 31. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. That's your resurrection. The gathering of the saints. We know that because verse 30 is the coming of the Son of Man. Verse 31 is the gathering of the saints. Verse 34, verily I say unto you, his disciples, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. So he literally tells his disciples, their generation is going to see the abomination of desolation. They're going to see what they call the second coming, which is just judgment. They're going to see the resurrection. Just like Daniel said, all of it was going to happen in the time period of the Messiah. The Messiah himself is saying all these things is going to happen our time period. They both agree. The only people who don't agree is the futurists. The futurists are the people who say it didn't happen then. They are the ones that disagree. They are the ones who say, let's insert a 2,000-year gap because it couldn't have happened first century. Because if Christ would have came first century, as this is their words, somebody would have wrote it down in history. And if if Christ's new kingdom is here on earth, why come I don't see it? This is their rebuttals to what the scriptures is teaching. Understand what the scriptures is teaching. There's something happening in the physical, there's something happening in the spiritual. So let's go to another. So this is all around the time of war. That's why they're having the tribulation period, the time of war. This is why Jerusalem is getting ready to get trodden down, the time of war. So this is what Revelation 20, when you get to Revelation 20, verse 11 to 15. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and heaven fled away, and there was no place found for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. That's your Daniel 12:2. Some is going to resurrect to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt. This is your resurrection. This isn't the first one found in Revelation 19. Earlier in Revelation 20. But this is the final one. And look what it says. It says, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead was judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. Second Ezra told us that this was going to happen at the end of the last week. Daniel told us that the end of the last week was during a war when Jerusalem was being destroyed. So you got the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, every man according to their works. But hold on, Daniel stated that when the 70th week, after the 70 weeks, there's going to be no more war. There's going to be no more sin, transgression, prophecy, vision. There's going to be no more of that stuff. Well, look here, Revelation 20 and 14. And death and hell was cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. There's no more death. There's no more sin. You don't need no more prophecy. What you going to prophesy? Death has already been defeated. What you going to prophesy about Jesus? Jesus already did what he was supposed to do. What you going to do? Prophesy about God? God didn't already did what he's supposed to do. They defeated death for you. What else you got to prophesy about? He's going to answer your prayers. That's given when he's your guide. And it says, and whatsoever was not found written in the book of life, whosoever was cast into the lake of fire. Now, I'm going to read a couple of more things, and then I will open it up, see if anybody got anything to say before we continue on to the next points. All right, so here's something else to look at. Let's go to another ancient document. It's called Second Baruch. Second Baruch, another first/second century document created not in the 21st century, but in the first and second century. Let's look at Baruch and look and see what Baruch says. 49 and 50. This is the the section right here. Look what they have for the topic: the nature of the resurrection body, the final destinies of the righteous and the wicked. It says, I nevertheless will ask you again, Almighty One. Yea, I will ask who made all things. In what shape will those live who live in your day? That's the day of the Lord. Or how will the splendor of those who are after that time continue? Will they then resume this form of the present and put on the intermeddling members? Hello, I got you, TikTok. Which are now involved in evils, and in which evils are consummated? Or will you perchance change these things which have been in the world as also the world? And he answered and said unto me, Hear, Baruch, this word, and write it in the remembrance of your heart, all that you shall learn. For the earth shall then assuredly restore the dead, which it now receives, in order to preserve them. It shall make no change in their form. But as it have received, so shall it restore them. And as I delivered them unto it, so also shall it raise them. So, second Baruch is fin to touch on the resurrection. So this is, once again, this is your Daniel 12, 1 through 2. This is your second Ezra 7, 30 through 35. This is your Revelation 20, 11 through 15. This is your time period when Jerusalem was being ramshacked by the Jews first and then by Rome. This is during that same time period, a time period of judgment. But guess what? Isaiah, and I showed you Baruch to tell you that we finna go in Baruch and talk about that time period. But Isaiah, did y'all know Isaiah spoke about this too? Oh yeah, Isaiah spoke about the resurrection. This is what Isaiah said. Isaiah 26, Isaiah 26, 19 through 21 states, thy dead shall live with my dead, body shall they arise. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in the dust. For thy dew is as the dew of the herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. See, Daniel wasn't the first person to talk about this resurrection. We got it in Isaiah. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself, as it were for a little moment, until the indignation, that's judgment, be overpassed. So Isaiah put the time of the resurrection around a time of a judgment dealing with his people. He's telling his righteous people to hide. And he's saying that there's going to be a judgment. They got to hide until the judgment is gone. So now, once again, resurrection is around the judgment. We just know it's the judgment of Jerusalem, first century. Verse 21. For behold, the Lord come out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth, which is the land, for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and it shall no more cover her slain. The earth disclosing her blood and not covering her slain, aka that means a land atonement has to follow. The earth has blood, so now, according to Numbers, a land atonement has to follow, which is happening in uh, Revelation, as well as Matthew 23, when he told them all of the bloodshed on the earth was going to come upon that generation. That's land atonement language. All right, this will be the last one, and we're going to open it up, see if anybody got anything to say before we continue on. The last one is going to be found in, oh, there we go. First Enoch, First Enoch 51, another first century document. Found some fragments of the Dead Sea Scroll, but we know this was written by Jews around the first century BC through the first century, second century AD. See, I like using ancient stuff, not this new stuff. So, First Enoch 51, 1 through 5. Hold on, let me see. This is it. It's that's not going to be it. It's different in the hard copy. Let me read it from the hard copy because this the online version got a different. First Enoch 51, 1. And in those days shall the earth also give back that which has been entrusted to it. That's your first resurrection. That's your resurrection. And Sheol shall give back that which has it received, and hell shall give back that which it owes. For in those days the elect one shall arise, and he shall choose the righteous and the holy from among them. For the day has drawn nigh, and they shall be saved. And the elect one shall in those days sit on my throne, and his mouth shall pour forth all the secrets of wisdom and counsel. So we have First Enoch 51 speaking on that same resurrection of Daniel. So if you want to know how to exegete these passages, these ancient books shows you how they what they believed in these passages. So we're going to continue on into Daniel 12 and 3 and give more of an exegesis of that using ancient words. But now I have been talking long enough. This is the time. If anybody got anything they want to say, this is the time right here. I'll mute my mic and see if anybody want to add before we continue on. I guess we thank you, my brother. Indeed, this is what we talk about all the time. So yeah, man, a lot of people left out after I started making them connections. Take away that voodoo. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Indeed, my brother. Indeed. And hopefully, this is on replay for anybody that want to listen to it. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Clubhouse. So it's plenty of things to go back. As brother Josephus stated, it's here for the challenge. That's why I put it on replay. Challenge it. See if what we present is correct. And if it is correct, come. Welcome to the kingdom. That's what we ask. That's what we ask, my brothers and sisters. Send us messages. Follow us. We can talk more and more because this thing gets deep. All right, let's get ready to go to some more of Daniel. Okay. So we got the time period. We got the old covenant coming to an end. We got a final judgment happening off of that old covenant system. The end of wickedness, sins, and etc. But Daniel 12 continues on. After this resurrection, verse 3, it says, and they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. And if we don't understand, in this new creation, the Lord is creating, He created a new temple. The people become the temple. He created a new body. The people become the body. He created a new Adam and Eve. The, the Messiah becomes the last Adam. Eve becomes his church. Not only that, now he says inside of his kingdom, there's no need for the sun and the moon. Okay, so he's doing a new creation thing, but it has spiritual applications, not carnal. Remember, this is a book written by spiritual people, not carnal people. And inside of this new creation, he has replaced the stars. Now, the people are the stars. The people shines. The people reveals what's in the darkness. The people bring those in darkness to light. The whole new recreation scenario is here. But now the people themselves, they are shining like the brightness of the firmament, like the stars. This is why, see, the New Testament authors, they were king of the Old Testament. So they're saying things for a reason. So when John is talking about We don't know what we shall be, but we shall be like him. We shall change and etc. They don't know what they shall be because Daniel, look how Daniel was explaining it. Daniel was saying the wise people are going to shine like the brightness of the firmament. If you look how the brightness of the firmament is, you got the sun, the moon, the stars. What does that mean that the wise are going to shine like the brightness of the firmament? What does it mean when a person turns many to righteousness? That means conversion, people. They turn many to righteousness. That's the Lord saying that people are going to convert people. And they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. So when they're talking about we don't know what we're going to be, but we're going to be like him, it's piggybacking off of this type of language. Okay. But now let's look at how the first and second century people, let's look at how they exegeted this passage. Now you can say, hey, they got it wrong or they exegeted it wrong and etc. I just want to show you how they view the scriptures compared to how you might view the scriptures. All right, so we're going to go to, let's go back to second Baruch now. So now we find out that they're all going to change, right? And this is what Paul talking about. We should all change in a moment, in the twinkling of the eye, at the last trumpet. You see what the change is from well, from dark to lightness. It's a covenantal change, but I don't want to mess up the presentation. So let's continue on. Second Baruch 51. This is what it states. And it should come to pass when the appointed day has gone by. And we know that appointed days to ancient Israel meant the Moads, the festival feast days when they're going to be fulfilled. 7 feast days, they were all allegories for the life of Christ. So when Christ fulfilled every element of the feast days, so when Christ fulfilled the final, this is what this is talking about. And it shall come to pass when that appointed day has gone by, it's talking about the day of judgment, which we know is the feast of trumpets. To the ancient world, trumpets was the time period in which a creation is destroyed and another creation comes. Christ's judgment took away the old creation, bringing in the new creation from earthly to heavenly. He reconciled us back to the Father. Also, dealing with the Feast of Trumpets, it came in the time period of the new moon. Contrary to what people say today, the ancient world said the new moon was the slither. Today, people got the new moon being the full moon. But regardless, I can go to the book of Philo, which is a first BC Jew explaining that the new moon was the slither. So dealing with the slither, they had to have 2 witnesses out there to look at and determine when to start the feast that start at even during even time during the slither. So this is what Revelation 11 piggybacking off of the 2 witnesses is allegorical. Is telling us that this feast day is fin to be accomplished. And since it's a new moon, this is the time period when the sun is not shining, the moon is not giving off her lights, and the stars are like how they fell from heaven because this is at even time, not at direct nighttime. So when you see the sun is going to be darkened, the moon shall not give off her lights, the stars shall not be bright, they shall fall from heaven. This is all allegorical language pointing back to judgment, the Feast of Trumpets. See, the Bible makes sense once you read it from the ancient Israelite perspective instead of from the modern day perspective. Today, people believe it's talking about a solar lunar eclipse is going to happen and stars are going to fall to Earth. It doesn't make sense. But let's continue on. It says, and it shall come to pass when the appointed day has gone by, that then shall the aspect of those who are condemned be afterwards changed, and the glory of those who are justified. For the aspect of those who now act wickedly shall become worse than it is. And it's talking about their appearance. This is what it means, their appearance, the aspect their appearance. As they shall suffer torment. Also, as for the glory of those who have been now justified in my law, who have had understanding in their life, and who have planted in their heart the root of wisdom, then their splendor shall be glorified in changes. And we know that glorification means lightness. When Christ was glorified, he became bright. It means brightness, light. So their splendor shall be brightened. It shall be lightened up. What do we see in Daniel 12:3? They're lightening. So it's all about the same thing. And the form of their face shall be turned into the light of their beauty, that they may be able to acquire and receive the world which does not die. All right. So now what Baruch is saying is, when this time period occurs, when Israel is being judged, right? At this final time period of judgment, 70 AD, first century under the old covenant, when Israel is being judged, people are resurrecting in the spiritual world as well. Now, we're not talking about the physical world and what happened to the people in the physical world, because they did something as well. But now we're talking about what they believed in the spiritual world. It stated that these people resurrected, and how they looked determined, I mean, it depended on their actions. So if they were wicked in the world, they resurrected looking wicked. If they was righteous in the world, they resurrected looking righteous. If you was wicked in the world, they resurrected looking dark and ugly. If they was righteous in the world, they resurrected looking bright and light. What's what's strange about this, I know a lot of people don't deal with Emmanuel Swedenborg. I like Emmanuel Swedenborg because I think he was very spiritual and he saw some extra stuff. But as he stated, in the spiritual realm, this is literally how some of the souls even look today. Some of the souls look demonic, and other souls look like angels, depending on how they lived on earth. I just want to throw that little tidbit in there. But anyway, it says, then their splendor shall be glorified in changes, and the form of their face shall be turned into the light of the beauty, that they may be able to acquire and receive the world which does not die, which is then promised to them. For over this above all shall those who come then lament, that they rejected my law, to show you that this is an old covenant understanding, right? This is something that happened under the old covenant. It says, and stop their ears that they might not hear wisdom or receive understanding. When therefore they see those over whom they are now exalted, but who shall then be exalted and glorified more than they shall respectively be transformed, the latter into the splendor of angels, and the former shall yet more waste away and wonder at the visions and the beholding of the forms. For they shall first behold and afterwards depart to be tormented. But those who have been saved by their works, to whom the law has been now a hope, and understanding, and expectation, and wisdom, a confidence, shall wonders appear in their time. For they shall behold the world which is now invisible to them. And the Holy Spirit actually allowed them to see that. Paul actually said that he went into the third heaven and was able to behold the world that was invisible to mankind. So this is not nothing new. And they shall behold the time which is now hidden from them, and time shall no longer age them. For in the heights of the world shall they dwell, and they shall be made like unto angels. That's the same thing the Lord said that was going to happen in the resurrection. The people was going to be made like unto angels. So they're all talking about the same thing. And look, and be made equal to the stars. You see how this is actually, they're actually looking at the book of Daniel, and they're actually exegeting what they believe Daniel is talking about. And they shall be changed into every form they desire, from beauty into loveliness, and from light into the splendor of glory. I'm going to read one more, and then we'll go to Wisdom of Solomon. For there shall be spread before them the extents of paradise, and there shall be shown to them the beauty of the majesty of living creatures, which are beneath the throne, and all the armies of the angels, who are now held fast by my word, lest they should appear and are held fast by a command, that they may stand in their places till their advent comes. So you clearly see that it was thought that when Jerusalem was being destroyed in the carnal world, there was a destruction of the evil souls in the spiritual world. And the righteous souls received a reward of glorification. Seems like similar to what Christ was praying for. Glorify me like I was glorified before he pretty much came to earth. So now people are receiving a glorification during the same time that Jerusalem is being destroyed. All right. So now I'm going to go to Wisdom of Solomon, because Wisdom of Solomon speaks on this same time period. See, there's plenty first century documents that explains all of this. You don't have to guess. It's there for you. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3. Look what it says. Now, this is for, once again, remember, there was going to be a time of tribulation, and some people was going to be killed during that time of tribulation. Some righteous people, other was going to escape, whose names was written in the book of life for salvation in the living world. So, but I want to show you how the author of Wisdom of Solomon, how they believed Daniel 12 and 3 was going to look. It says, but the souls of the righteous are in the hand of God, but there shall no torment touch them. In the sight of the unwise, they seem to die, and their departure is taken for misery. So you see, these are people who really died, and they're going forth, they're going from us to be utter destruction. But they are in peace, for though they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality. And having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded. For God proved them and found them worthy for himself. As gold in the furnace had he tried them and received them as a burnt offering. And in the time of their visitation, they shall shine. We didn't made it to Daniel 12 and run to and fro like little sparks, like sparks among the stubble. These are the dead people. Let me show y'all how spiritual this gets. Because you gotta, before I continue reading on, you gotta know the backstory of how Israel believed. Israel believed that there were 70 nations. Within those 70 nations, El Elyon, the father, he gave dominion to angels. Yahweh received Israel. We can go into that, what that meant to ancient Israel at a different day. But the point is, each nation had an angel over them. And remember, all nations were supposed to be reconciled into the Messiah. So that meant that eventually each angel had to step down and lose their dominion and give their dominion to the Messiah. So let's look at how the author of the Wisdom of Solomon saw this. So these are the dead people, right, who died. It says, in the time of their visitation, they shall shine and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. They shall judge the nations and have dominion over the people, and their Lord shall reign forever. What is that right there? Well, that's the promise of being made in the image of God. You shall have dominion. So these souls made in the image of God, they get dominion over the people, and they have the ability to judge nations. So in other words, the Lord takes the dominion from the 70 angels and give it to the saints, give it to his saints. So now his saints replace the 70 angels. This is what they believe. Okay? This is their belief. Now, the author of Wisdom of Solomon. You can believe it if you want to, but this is what they believe. They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. For grace and mercy is to his saints, and he had care for his elect. But the ungodly shall be punished according to their own imaginations, which have neglected the righteous and forsaken the Lord. So if you want to talk to me about a hell, the according to the author of the Wisdom of Solomon, the wicked souls are punished according to their own imaginations. So you can take that for what it is. All right, so now I'm going to go to First Enoch 108. First Enoch 108. I'm going to read verses 3, 12 through 13. It states, and wait ye indeed until sin has passed away. That's your Daniel 9:24. No more sin. So now, wait until sin has passed away. So we know this is around the time that Jerusalem had to be destroyed. Wait until sin has passed away, for their name shall be blotted out of the book of life and out of the holy books. So this is all of the wicked who received punishment 70 AD, and their seed shall be destroyed forever, and their spirits shall be slain, and they shall cry and make lamentation in a place that is a chaotic wilderness, and in fire shall they burn, for there is no earth there. And now I will summon the spirits of the good who belong to the generation of light, and I will transform those who were born in darkness, who in the flesh were not recompensed with such honor as their faithfulness deserved. And I will bring forth in shining light those who have loved my holy name, and I will seat each of the throne. I will seat each on the throne of his honor. So he gets dominion. So this is what they believe happened to the dead spirits, the people who were dead, the real spirits. So I'm gonna I know I keep saying this, but you gotta get it in your mind. You gotta get it in your mind. Israel was looking at two things happening. Today, when people talk about full preterists dealing with 70 AD and destruction of Jerusalem, they full preterist this, full preterist that. 70 AD did not do nothing. This is more stuff got to happen. Think about the nuclear bombs and the nuclear weapons and the Holocaust and slavery and all of this stuff. Think about all this stuff that happened. That's way worse than 70 AD because people don't understand what the ancient world believed 70 AD accomplished, which was salvation to The people still in flesh form, when they did not get destroyed by their judgment, they fled into the mountains, able to take the word of Christ to more people. The wicked people was destroyed and taken from the land. They was considered not in the book of life. All of this is what happened on the earthly realm. In the spiritual realm, all the dead souls that was considered wicked was separated from all the righteous souls. All the righteous souls was glorified, and they are seated before, or they were seated before the Lord. The wicked souls went elsewhere. This is what they believed in the ancient world. So when you come talking about the Lord is going to kill people and He's going to destroy earth, create a new earth, and put the people on the new earth after He resurrect them or rapture them from the old earth, and it's going to be like an alien and you know infestation or alien apocalypse and a zombie apocalypse and all this other stuff. That's not what the ancient world believed. That's fan-made fiction of today's world. Now, let's go to another first, second. It's so many first, second century documents to show you what they believed occurred 70 AD. It's ridiculous. And people overlook them and tell you some type of futuristic breakdown that nobody believed until like the 8th or ninth century and going on. This is the ascension of Isaiah now. Chapter 9, I'm going to read 4 through 14 and 16 through 18. Listen to the ascension of Isaiah. It states, now this is how they viewed the Lord coming to earth and what the Lord accomplished, because we have a problem understanding also what the Lord accomplished leading up to 70 AD. All of this backstory is important to understand why we stand so firmly on 70 AD being the fulfillment of all biblical prophecies. You got to know the backstories. You got to know the understanding that was floating around in the first century when the gospels was being penned, when the epistles was being written down. You got to understand the what mindset they was in during that time period. All right, so here we go. And the Lord and the angel of the Spirit were beholding all and hearing all. And all the praises which are sent up from the six heavens are not only heard but seen. So the author of second of the ascension of Isaiah believed that it was seven heavens. Paul said he went to the third one. Here we go. And I heard the angel who conducted me, and he said, this is the most high of the high ones, dwelling in the holy world and resting in his holy ones, who will be called by the Holy Spirit through the lips of the righteous, the Father of the Lord. And I heard the voice of the Most High, the Father of my Lord, saying to my Lord Christ, who will be called Jesus, go forth and descend through all the heavens, and thou wilt descend into the firmament and that world, so that the angel in Sheol thou wilt descend, but to Hagiel thou wilt not go, and thou wilt become like unto likeness of all who are in the five heavens. And thou would be careful to become like the form of the angels of the firmament, and the angels also who are in Sheol, which is the grave. And none of the angels of the world shall know that thou art with me of the seven heavens, and of their angels. And they shall not know that thou art with me till with a loud voice I have called to the heavens, and their angels and their lights, even unto the sixth heaven, in order that you may judge and destroy the princes and angels and gods of that world, and the world that is dominated by them. For they have denied me and said, we alone are, and there is none beside us. And afterwards, from the angels of death, thou wilt ascend to thy place, and thou wilt not be transformed in each heaven, but in glory wilt thou ascend and sit on my right hand. 16 through 18. These commands I heard the great glory given to my Lord. So I saw my Lord go forth from the seventh heaven into the sixth heaven. And the angel who conducted me from this world was with me and said, understand, Isaiah, and see the transformation and descent of the Lord will appear. So you got the Lord going down from from the seventh heaven all the way to the first heaven. Let me see if I can find something in chapter 11. I think something was in chapter 11 too. Yeah, chapter 11. Let's see here. Verse 19. And after this, the treasury envied him and roused the children of Israel against him, not knowing who he was. And they delivered him to the king and crucified him. And he descended to the angel of Sheol. And in Jerusalem, indeed, I was him being crucified on a tree. And likewise, after the third day, rise again and remain days. And then he ascends up to heaven. And let me see right here. What was that right here? It's another part that I remember seeing. Give me 1 second, because him defeating Satan was important. Let me see. Yeah, it was in this one. Hold on, let me see. Where did he see? He saw Enoch somewhere. Here we go, right here. Chapter 9. It says, I'm gonna start at 8. And there I saw Enoch and all who were with him, strip of the garments of the flesh, so they was in the spirit, and I saw them in their garments of the upper world, so they got spiritual clothes, and they were like angels standing there in great glory. And there I saw Enoch and all who were with him, strip of their garments of the flesh, and I saw them in their garments of the upper world, and they were like angels standing there in great glory. I said it again. But they said, but they sat not on their thrones, nor were their crowns of glory on them. So they are in their heavenly garment. They're not on their thrones yet. They don't have their crowns yet. And I asked the angel who was with me, how is it that they have received the garments, but have not the thrones and not the thrones and the crowns? And he said to me, crowns and thrones of glory they do not receive, till the beloved will descend into the form in which you will see him descend, will descend, I say, into the world in the last days, the Lord, who will be called Christ. And then they're going to crucify him on a tree. So you got the author of um, the ascension of Isaiah explaining that Christ was going to come down and be crucified in the last days. The last days that Moses spoke about. not the last days that people in the 21st century think about. Because you talk to somebody in the 21st century, they tell you we're living in the last days right now, and Jesus is going to come anytime. Moses had a different eschatology. Those in the Bible, they had a different eschatology. Their last days was the days that the Messiah walked the earth, his generation. Our last days is any time period that anybody is born. We're going to be in the last days now. Your children are going to be in the last days. Then their children are going to be in the last days. This is what futurists believe. Because a day to the Lord is 1,000 years. So the last days are never over with because every generation is the last days. But to the ancient world, the last days that Moses spoke about, the last days the Messiah spoke about, the last days that Paul and the author of Hebrews and John and Isaiah, the last days they spoke about was dealing with the time of the Messiah. Any messianic prophecy about the last days, the ancient world put it in the days of the Messiah. So now we got in the last days, the Messiah had to come and die in order for those in the heavenlies to receive their actual rewards. Now, there's also a first century document called, let's see if this is it. Yep, the Apocalypse of Abraham. So now let's read this, what they believe, once again, dealing with the the final judgment that happened 70 AD, what Daniel was actually talking about, what Isaiah was talking about, what all these people was talking about dealing with the last days, end days things. So this is how they exegeted the scripture. So I don't look at scholars exegesis because I have the ancient world exegesis. So if I want to exegete something, I try to find it within the first 3 centuries or before. I go to uh, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and or I go to Philo, Josephus, of anti-church fathers. I try to use them. So this is chapter 25. Now listen to how this author came to be about, because this author eventually is gonna talk about 70 AD. Hold on, what? So we got an author talking about 70 AD from the ancient world and what it accomplished? We sure do. So this is 25. I saw there the likeness of the idol of jealousy. So if you want to know what the idol of jealousy is, right? This is what Daniel was talking about dealing with, quote unquote, the abomination of desolation. So this is the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet and etc. This is what was happening around the first century. So if you want to know a little something about the ideas floating around the first century, dealing with how they viewed the abomination of desolation and etc., here you go. I saw there the likeness of the idol of jealousy, having the likeness of woodwork, such as my father was wont to make, and its statue was of glittering bronze, and before it a man, and he worshipped it, and in front of him an altar, and upon it a boy slain in the presence of the idol. So we got a man in front of an altar, and he has killed a boy. Think about it now. We're talking about first century. Let's keep reading. But I said to him, what is this idol? Or what is the altar? Or who are they that are sacrificed? Who are they that are sacrificed? Or who is the sacrificer? Or what is the temple which I see that is beautiful in art, and its beauty like being the glory that lieth beneath the throne? And he said, hear, Abraham, this which thou seest, the temple and altar and beauty is my ideal of the priesthood of my glorious name, in which dwelleth every single prayer of man, and the rise of kings and prophets, and whatever sacrifice are I ordained to be offered to me among my people who are to come out of thy generation. But the statute which thou sawest is mine anger, wherewith the people anger me who are to proceed from me from thee. But the man who thou sawest slaughtering, that is he who inciteth murderous sacrifices of sick, which are a witness to me of the final judgment, even at the beginning of creation. So you got a final judgment that, quote unquote, was at the beginning of creation. Oh, well, that was Adam being thrown out of the Garden of Eden. We got a judgment at the beginning of creation. And now we got this man causing other people to murder. So when you want to look at your man of sin and all these things, the the people here who created this document, they're pointing and leaning things toward Israel. When people get in the book of Revelation, they have a tendency to lean things toward Rome or America or Persia or whoever else. But we have the ancient world, they're leaning toward Israel dealing with all of these prophecies. Now, Rome is in the midst of it. But when we're talking about the abomination of desolation and the man of sin and all of this, yeah. So now we're going to go to chapter 29. Let me see this when they talk about it. This might be when they bring up the temple. Let's see here. And I said, "O eternal mighty one, how long a time is an hour of the age?" Because y'all remember, Jews, they deal with time periods. So when we're talking about how they viewed ages, because you remember they asked the Messiah in Matthew 24 and 3, what is the sign of the end of the age? Now let's see how they viewed ages from this perspective. It says, he said, 12 years have I ordained of this ungodly age to the rule to rule among the heathen and in thy seed. And until the end of the times it shall be as thou sawest. And do thou reckon and understand and look into the picture. So he's looking at this picture and he's going to tell us what he, quote unquote, what he sees in this picture. And I looked and saw a man going out from the left side of the heathen, and there went out men and women and children. From the side of the heathen, many hosts, and worshiped him. So we know this is talking about the Messiah. So the Messiah is coming from the heathen, not saying he's born from the heathen, but he's actually doing ministry. His ministry was for the heathen as well. That was the mystery, not just Israel. This is an old document. Argue with them, not me. And while I still looked, there came out from the right side many, and some insulted that man, while some struck him. Others, however, worshipped him. And I saw how these worshipped him, and Azazel ran and worshipped him. You know who Azazel is? He represented the demonic angel in the book of Enoch, who taught men war. He's also represented as the what they call scapegoat, which is not really the name, but the goat that got taken into the wilderness for destruction, who housed all of the sins of Israel. Azazel represented the evil one. So now look at how they viewed these angels and how they made these angels people. It says, let me see here. And some others worship him. And I saw how these worship him. And Azazel ran and worshiped him. And having kissed his face, he turned and stood behind him. We all know that that was Judas. So the author of the Apocalypse of Abraham made the demonic angel, the goat, Judas. Azazel represents Judas here. And I said, so understand how they can flip flop with these angels in their names. They can represent people. And I said, O eternal mighty one, who is the man insulted and beaten, who was worshipped by the heathen with Azazel? And he answered and said, Hear, Abraham, the man whom thou sawest insulted and beaten and again worshiped, that is the relief granted by the heathen to the people who proceed from thee in the last days, in this 12th hour of the age of ungodliness. So now they're referring to the age dealing with the age of ungodliness. Sometimes we call it the age of Moses dealing with the covenantal, but here they call it the age of ungodliness. And according to whoever wrote this, the Messiah lived in, once again, the last days. So everybody, we can see how the ancient world viewed Messiah's generation as the last days that Moses was talking about, not what people are talking about today. See, when people ask us to prove last days, these are in ancient documents. It's everywhere. Once you read what the ancient world believed and get out of this 21st century nonsense, it says, but in the 12th year, and they got a note here, they don't know if this year or hour, of my final age, I will set up this man from thy generation, which thou sawest issue from my people. This one all will follow, as such is called by me, will even join those who change in their counsels. And those whom thou sawest emerge from the left side of the picture, the meaning is, there shall be many from the heathen who set their hopes upon him. And as for those whom thou sawest, thy seed on the right side, some insulting and striking, others worshiping him, many of them shall be offended at him. However, is testing those who have worshiped him of thy seed in the 12th hour of the end, with a view of shortening the age of ungodliness. So you got Christ saying, unless the time be shortened. You got Daniel talking about the time shortened. Uh, that's dealing with the time of the end. They put that with Jerusalem being destroyed. Let's keep going on. Before the age of righteousness beginneth to grow, my judgment shall come upon the lawless heathen through the people of thy seed who have been separated for me. So now he's saying that the Israel was going to bring forth a judgment upon upon the heathens. And that judgment right there could be considered something more spiritual. You can take it upon you. This is how they believed in the first century. But what else I was wanting to show? Where it says about that temple being destroyed. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find it real fast because it's there. Yeah, right here, 27. And I looked and saw, lo, so this is talking about 70 AD. The picture swayed, and from it emerged from its left side a heathen people, and they pillaged those who were on the right side, men and women and children. Some they slaughtered, others they retained with themselves, took captives. Lo, I saw them run towards them through four entrances, and they burnt the temple with fire, and the holy things that were therein they plundered. And I said, O eternal one, lo, the people that spring from me. So this is Abraham talking about his descendants, whom thou hast accepted. The hordes of the heathen do plunder, and some they kill, while others they hold fast as aliens. And the temple they have burnt with fire, and the beautiful things therein they do rob and destroy. O eternal mighty one, if this be so, wherefore thou hast now lacerated my heart, and why should this be so? And he said to me, Hear, Abraham, what thou hast seen shall happen on account of thy seed who anger me by reason of the statue which thou sawest, and on account of all the human slaughter in the picture, through zeal in the temple. And as thou sawest, so shall it be. So this is them killing the Messiah. This is them putting uh, covetousness before themselves, and this is them killing each other. And I say in the temple, this happened during the Zealots. Josephus actually talks about this. And I said, "O eternal mighty one, may the works of evil wrath and ungodliness now pass by, but show me rather those who fulfill the commandments, even the works of his righteousness. For thou canst do this." And he said to me, the time of the righteous meeteth them first through the holiness flowing from kings and righteousness and etc. So he talks about the destruction of the temple. And he says, and he showed me a multitude of his people and said, on their account, through four issues, as thou sawest, I shall be provoked by them, and these my retribution for their deeds shall be accomplished. But in the fourth going out of 100 years, so that's 400 years, and 1 hour of the age, the same is 100 years. 1 hour of the age is 100 years. It shall be in misfortune among the heathen, but 1 hour in mercy and contumely as among the heathen. So, in other words, he's talking about the same 400 years that Second Ezra was talking about. Within that 400 years, the Messiah was going to come, and then a week later, within those 7 prophetic days later, the end was going to come. So here, this is around Jerusalem being destroyed, and the author of this put that during the time period of the age of ungodly being consummated. All right, y'all, we're going to get ready to wrap this up. We're going to read from verse Enoch, what they was getting ready to accomplish with the destruction of Jerusalem. Once again, we're just going to read about the accomplishments dealing with Jerusalem. All righty. So, first Enoch 22, 1 through 5 states, get there real fast. All right. So, you have to understand also how they thought in the ancient world, in the spiritual realm, what was happening until the judgment, because all of this goes together. So now you're going to find out what was going on in the spiritual realm before the judgment occurs. So before 70 AD, when the Lord came and judged, what was happening in the spiritual realm? What did Israel believe? What did the ancient world believe was happening in the spiritual realm? And thank everyone for this sticking with me, that has stuck with me. I know it's long. This is a long lesson. They're all long. This is what I do. Wisdom told me this. But and Josephus told me this. But I'm gonna make it a little bit longer and then we can end it. So this is what they felt was happening in the spiritual world. And thence I went to another place, in the mountain and of hard rock. And there was in it four hollow places, deep and wide, and very smooth. How smooth are the hollow places, and deep and dark to look at. Then Raphael answered, one of the holy angels who was with me, and said unto me, these hollow places have been created for this very purpose, that the spirits of the souls of the dead should assemble therein. Yea, that all the souls of the children of man should assemble here. And these places have been made to receive them until the day of their judgment, and until their appointed period, until the period appointed, until the great judgment comes upon them. So, according to the authors of Enoch, first Enoch 22, people died in the ancient world. And we know this is common sense. But their spirits went down, and those spirits were separated. We're going to read that in a second. Well, there was a place created, a resting place created for souls, all souls that had ever died. This ain't the Garden of Eden, folks. This place looks, what did they say they thought it looked like? A hollow place, right? It's four hollow places, and they were deep and dark to look at. This is what they believe happened to the spirit of a man when he died. Verse 10. And I asked regarding it, regarding all the hollow places, which one separated from the other? And he answered me and said unto me, these three have been made that the spirits of the dead might be separated. And such a division has been made for the spirits of the righteous, in which there is the bright spring of water. And such has been made for sinners, when they die and are buried in the earth, and judgment has not been executed on them in their lifetime. Here their spirit shall be set apart in this great pain until the great day of judgment and punishment and torment of those who curse forever, and retribution for their spirits. There he shall bind them forever. And such a division has been made for the spirits of those who make their suit, who make disclosures concerning their destruction, when they were slain in the days of the sinners. Such has been made for the spirits of men who were not righteous but sinners, who were in complete transgression, and of the transgressors they shall be companions. But their spirits shall not be slain in the day of judgment, nor shall they be raised from thence. Then I bless the Lord of glory. Blessed be the Lord of righteousness, who ruleth forever. So, according to the ancient people, when a person died, they were separated in Hades, or their souls were separated. You went to a person who pretty much was on your frequency, person who had the same actions as you. This is what they believe, right? This is not uh the Garden of Eden. This is them being like in a cave, and they're just waiting there in a dark cave, and the righteous people got the spring of water, of course, but it's still outside of the Lord, right? So first Enoch 10 and 12. This is when that, because remember, all of this was going to be until the great judgment. So this is when the great judgment was supposed to occur. First Enoch 10:12. And when their sons have slain one another, they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind them fast for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth, until the day of their judgment and of their consummation, until the judgment that is forever and ever is consummated. And we find out 70 generations from Enoch is the generation of the Messiah. That's when they said the judgment of judgments that was going to happen forever was going to occur. So once again, we are in the generation of the Messiah. And we find out through the generation of the Messiah, a judgment was going to occur. First Enoch 25, verse number, First Enoch 25, 3 through 8. And he answered, this high mountain which thou hast seen, whose summit is the throne of God, and his throne, where the Holy Great One, the Lord of glory, the eternal King, will sit. He shall come down to visit the earth with goodness. And as for the fragrant tree, no mortal is permitted to touch it until the great judgment. Y'all know that's the tree of life, right? So now no mortal can touch the tree of life until the great judgment, when he shall take vengeance on all and bring everything to its consummation forever. It shall then be given to the righteous and holy. Its fruit shall be for food for the elect. It shall be taken to the holy place, to the temple of the Lord, the eternal King. Then shall they rejoice with joy and be glad, and into the holy places shall they enter. See, before they're in the crevices in the rocks, they're in a hollow place, and they are waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And when the author of Enoch wrote this, they were still waiting and waiting. They're waiting on this final judgment. And at this final judgment, the righteous people would have access to the tree of life and be able to enter into the place where their God is. This is what they were waiting on in the spiritual realm, dealing with dead souls. They were waiting on a time in which they could leave the hallowed earth and go into the place where God is and get access to the tree of life. This is what they were waiting on. We find out this happened at the consummation when the great judgment was going to occur, according to Enoch, in 70 generations, which was the generation of the Messiah, when vengeance, the vengeance through the song of Moses, was going to come. The Lord was going to judge his people. He was going to set fire upon the land. He was going to atone. He was going to take away sin, death, sorrow, transgression, all things that's found in the old covenant. He was going to destroy it, leaving the new covenant, leaving an access into the Holy of Holies for the dead people, as well as the people who's alive, where the Father can enter into us while we're still living and have the Holy of Holies, the Garden of Eden within us. That was unheard of in the ancient world. Let's keep going on. It says, it shall be given to the righteous and holy. Its fruit shall be the food for the elect. It shall be taken to the holy place, to the temple of the Lord, the eternal King. And then shall they rejoice with joy and be glad. And into the holy places, place shall they enter. And its fragrance shall be in their bones. And they shall live a long life on earth, such as thy fathers lived. And in their days shall no sorrow or plague or torment or calamity touch them. That's new covenant promises. Then bless I, the God of glory, the eternal King, who had prepared such things for the righteous, who and hath created and promised to give to them. So you got the dead people living on the new heaven and earth, an earth where the Lord dwells. And then you got those that's alive and remaining to do the same thing. The book of Jubilees touch on this as well. Jubilees chapter 50, verse 5. Listen to what it says. And the Jubilees will pass until Israel is cleansed from the guilt, all guilt. of their fornication. This is Daniel 9:24. And uncleanliness and pollution and sin and error. That's Daniel 9:24. And dwelleth with confidence in all the land. And there will be no more of Satan or any evil one. That's your Revelation 20. And the land will be cleansed from the time forevermore. They don't understand. There's no more Satan because sin has been destroyed. There's no more Satan because transgression has ended. There's no more Satan because not iniquity, sorry, atonement has covered all iniquity. There's no more Satan. When there's no more iniquity, transgression, old covenant, there's no more Satan. They're waiting on the new covenant. All right, we're going to go through the book of Adam and Eve real fast, and we're going to wrap this up. I'm trying to show you why 70 AD was important. I know I just said it 5 or 6 times, but I'm going to say it till you understand it. When a full preterist say 70 AD, we say it because there's power in 70 AD. 70 AD, it took away the covenantal world to say that you have to do all of these carnal works in order to have a relationship with the Father. And if you don't do the carnal works, the Father will be angry with you and he will destroy you. And the only way he can destroy you is by getting another nation to come against you. So that means he has to create warfare. He has to create a Game of Thrones. So in order for this nation to be powerful, this nation has to destroy that nation. And that nation who made that nation subject can now have civil war because of that nation that's inside of this nation. So all of this has to happen in order for this nation to have power and an army to come in and destroy Israel. This is called the vassal covenant, a covenant of blessings and curses. Oh yeah, the blessings sound cool, but the curses are damnable. And with those curses, a Game of Thrones got to happen. This is why Israel in the ancient world, in that covenant, being a covenant people to God, controlled the world. When Israel was wicked, the whole world was in chaos because the Lord had to maneuver so many pieces in the old world to punish Israel. And then he has to punish the people who punished Israel. That's what the vassal covenant is. It's a terrible covenant to be in, and this is what Israel had put themselves into, dealing with God, dealing with their Lord, their Father. So now he wants to give them back a royal grant covenant, not a kinship covenant based off of the Ten Commandments, which if you we have a relationship together, husband and wife, but I can divorce you, and if I divorce you, you lose all my benefits. You can death. You lose all benefits. No, we don't want that kinship covenant. We wanted that royal grant covenant, the one like Abraham had, the one like Noah had, and that just say all I have to do is be like the Lord and love, and He provides everything. Just for me being in his image, he provides everything. I don't have to do all of this stuff in order to have a relationship with him. That's the new covenant, a royal covenant. He does all the action. He say, I will put my laws in you. He said the Holy Spirit teaches. He does all the things. Man don't have to sacrifice. The Lord was the sacrifice. Men don't have to do that anymore. The Lord was the atonement. Now, if you want to do something you love, the Lord makes it more spiritual. So now, let's find out what the world was waiting on. That's why 70 AD was so important. It took the old way out. It took the old relationship out. It took all of the hardship, sorrow, pain, crying, lamentations. It took it away on the physical realm, but in the spiritual realm, it took all of the unrighteous people away from God and separated them from the righteous people. So now you have a whole world of righteous people being with God in the spiritual realm, and the wicked people taken away in the spiritual realm. The same time Jerusalem was being destroyed in the natural realm, when you had the people who followed the Lord go with the Lord, and the people who didn't follow the Lord go into captivity. One event, one judgment happening, two different realms. Heaven and earth being judged together. Heaven, earth, underneath the earth, all being judged together. 70 AD, when the Lord is taking away everything not him, bringing everything that is him. So now let's get ready to end it in the book of Adam and Eve. And yes, in order to get this understanding, you have to read, research, study, pray, meditate, fast, all of that stuff. It's not just going to pop out to you, but I'm trying to give you the resources. Just on your own, find it. All right. So this is the book of Adam and Eve. We are at the book of Adam and Eve, right? It says the earliest prophecy of the coming of Christ in the note. But God, the Lord, said to Adam. So all of this is after Adam transgressed. But God, the Lord, said to Adam, verily I say unto thee, this darkness will pass from thee. Every day I have determined for thee, until the fulfillment of my covenant, when I will save thee and bring thee back again into the garden, unto the abode of light that longest for, wherein is no darkness, I will bring thee to it in the kingdom of heaven. So this was found in the some Egyptians' tomb. This book, I think it was found 18th century. So this is outside, but some of the scholars have stated that some of the elements of the book of Adam and Eve originates from the first, second, and third century. So you can do your research. But you see here, the author who created this was feeling that mankind was needing to go back into the Garden of Eden, which is in the kingdom of heaven, which meant they felt that man lost the Garden of Eden. All righty. I want to go to chapter 26 now. Chapter 26, I'm going to read 9 through 15. Then came the word of God to Adam and said unto him, Adam, as for the sun, if it were to take it and bring it to thee, days, hours, years, and months would all come to naught, and the covenant I have made with thee would never be fulfilled. But thou shouldest then be turned and left in a long plague, and no salvation would be left to thee forever. Yea, brother, bear long and calm thy soul, while thou abidest night and day, until the fulfillment of the days and the time of my covenant is come. Then shall I come and save thee, O Adam, for I do not wish that thou be afflicted. And when I look at all the good things in which thou didst live, and while thou camest out of them, then would I willingly show thee mercy. But I cannot alter the covenant that has gone out of my mouth, else would I have brought thee back into the garden. When, however, the covenant is fulfilled, then shall I show thee and thy seed mercy, and bring thee into a land of gladness, where there is neither sorrow nor suffering, but abiding joy and gladness and light that never fails, and praises that never cease, and a beautiful garden that shall never pass away. See the promises of the souls of Adam, the soul man. Chapter 38, 1 through 2. When the 5,500 years are fulfilled, after these things, the word of God came to Adam and said unto him, O Adam, as the fruit of the tree of life, for which thou asked, I will not give it thee now. But when the 5,500 years are fulfilled, that's the time of the Messiah, then will I give thee the fruit of thy tree, and thou shalt eat and live forever, thou and Eve and thy righteous seed. Some has calculated that is the time when the Messiah was on earth. So we find out during the time of the Messiah. That's when they're supposed to get the tree of life back. This is chapter 42, 3 through 8. But thou canst not make thy entrance into it at present, but only after thy judgment is past and fulfilled. Then will I make thee go up into the kingdom of heaven, thee and thy righteous seed, and I will give thee and them that rest thou ask for at present. And if thou sayest, give me water, give me the water of life, that I may drink and live, it cannot be this day, but on the day that I descend, that I shall descend into hell, and break the gates of brass, and bruise in pieces the kingdoms of iron. See how they exegeted Daniel chapter 2, dealing with that iron kingdom? They got this dealing with breaking the gates of hell. All right. So, I mean, look how they exegeted. Then will I in mercy save thy soul, and the soul of the righteous, to give them rest in my garden. And thou shalt be give thee rest in my garden. And that shall be when the end of the world is come. And again, as regard the water of life thou seekest, it will not be granted thee this day. But on the day that I shall shed my blood upon thy head in the land of Golgotha. For my blood shall be the water of life unto thee at that time, and not to thee alone, but unto all of those of thy seed who shall believe in me, that it be done unto them for rest forever. And once you go into the Bible, we find out this happens in Revelation 21. Revelation 21. When the new heaven and new earth comes down, the tabernacle of God is with men. That's new covenant. He's wiping away all tears. There's no more sorrow and crying. He makes all things new. Revelation 22. Now they are in the midst of the street. So now they are in the midst of that city who has the tree of life, the Garden of Eden, with this in the midst. So, to make a long story short, because now I'm done, I don't got nothing else to say dealing with scriptures. According to ancient belief, Adam and Eve was in heavenly Jerusalem. They was in the kingdom of heaven. They was in the heavenly realm spiritually. They transgressed. They died. They got kicked out of the presence of the Lord. So when they physically died, their soul still had that sin on them. So they did not go back into where the Lord was. They went into a place that was designated that the Lord created for dead souls outside of his presence. So now they are in the depths of hell, waiting, waiting, yearning for the kingdom of heaven, which they fell from. And they waited there. Every soul waited there until first century when Christ came down as the perfect lamb in the image of God and shed his blood for using atonement for love, covering the sin of everyone that believes. He goes down to Hades, he goes down to hell. He breaks the bond of hell. So now there's no more place for the righteous. So now the door is open. But in order to walk through the door, something must occur. So as he has broken the gates, he's opened the door. In fact, he has let some up with him because we find out there's 24 elders inside of heaven, inside of the kingdom, waiting. So he has let some up with him. But sin is still ruling and reigning. The prince of the air is still ruling and reigning. Death is still ruling and reigning. So what does the Messiah do? He gives his disciples something so they could be protected called the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit protects them from all demonic activities. So now anybody that has demonic activities um, can they cannot stop the power that the disciples have. They can hurt them physically, but they cannot stop their movement. So guess what goes on? They keep spreading the gospel. And as they spread the gospel, they're doing more and more, taking demons out of people and etc. This is going over the territory of quote unquote the evil entities. So he's declaring war. He's taking over their territories. And this happened all the way up until the time of the tribulation. And then finally, after the righteous blood uh, count was met, in order for that atonement to come, the avenging of the covenant, it comes. The Lord destroys all of the wicked sons of God, as well as all of the people doing wickedness inside of his holy land. He destroys them all. And during that destruction, now they have what they call a final judgment, where he don't have to judge anybody no more according to that old covenant. So what is he doing? He's telling people in Hayes, you guys can now come up and join me. So now the dead world is going up and joining the Lord. Now, what does he do to the people who don't die, the people that still alive and remain? Well, he gives them access to the new covenant. Okay, the Spirit works with you. You still have a relationship with me. I will bring my house to you. You are no longer away from me. You are with me. And while you are speaking, I will answer you. So now he has connected heaven with earth. So now it doesn't matter if this body, this flesh leaves or not. You're with the Lord. You don't need a Levitical priesthood. You don't need no animal blood sacrifices. You don't need to do 616 nothings. You don't have to do none of that. You just got to do what Christ said in Matthew 25. And I'll run through that real fast, and then I'm done. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. This is what Christ said in Matthew 25 in order to receive the kingdom prepared for his followers. This is what Christ requires, which is different from what Moses required, what the Lord had Moses require for the land of Canaan. This is what Christ required for his kingdom. No matter if you're heaven, earth, in order to access it, you had to go through these things. Matthew 25:34. Then shall the king say unto him on his right hand, come ye blessed of my father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, you gave me meat. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger, you took me in. Naked, you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came into me. All this is just love your neighbor. That's what that is. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when do we do all of these things? Because they didn't physically do it to him, because he was in heaven as a spirit. So, Lord, when did we physically do all these things to you? And he said, and the king shall answer and say unto them, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto the least of these my brethren, you have done it to me. So that's what the Lord said. Now, in order to access all of that kingdom stuff, that's exactly what you had to do. Love. Love for your neighbor. So that's what it's all about. 70 AD ended the old covenant, brought in the new covenant. There's no more judgment. There's no more you got to do this and that in order to appease the Lord. I gotta sleep on this day. I gotta eat this type of food. I gotta have this type of festival. I gotta do this, and that. That's not what the Lord said you have to do to inherit his kingdom. The Lord said, if you want to inherit my kingdom, you got to do Matthew 25:34 through uh, 34 through 35. Matthew 25:34 through 35. That's how you inherit the Lord's kingdom. Thank you all for listening in. This is Elvin Israel. That is the importance of 70 AD. After 70 AD occurred, we are now in the new covenant where all we have to do is Matthew 25:34 through 35. You will inherit the kingdom. All praise to the Most High. All right, y'all. If y'all want anything to add, this is the time. Thank y'all for listening in. I thank you guys for listening in as well. Elvin Israel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. AOSD-CHANDLER. AOSD-CHANDLER. Resurrection Prophecy and Kingdom, RPK. That's Resurrection Prophecy and Kingdom on YouTube. We got my brother Batch right there, lead instructor of RPK right there. You see him right there. Uh, Thank you everybody for listening in. Matthew 5, Matthew 25. All right, y'all. I'm talking with him talking. I'm finna end this, but thank y'all for listening in. Stay in shalom. All right. And thank y'all for listening in, YouTube. Stay in shalom. May the Lord continue blessing us all. Health, wealth, and success. Amen.